In this video, we will show you how to create a new supply chain network. In Supply Chain Sim, a supply chain network consists of locations, products, and haulage assets and the relationships between them. Before we begin, be sure to save any work that you may have completed by choosing File, Save Current Scenario, and saving the scenario to a location of your choosing. To start, we will clear the current network by choosing Network, Create New Network from the menu bar and confirm the removal of the current system. The application will automatically be in Network Design mode. To toggle between Simulation and Design mode, press the Network Design Editor button. To create our network, we will follow the process outlined by the order of the buttons in Network Design mode. So first, let's define the products that will be processed through the supply chain. In our case, the first product will be wheat. Let's change the name, set the units to pallets, and select the color and shape of the product to assist in association when visualizing the supply chain. Click the Add button and create a new product, bread, and then make similar changes. Our next task is to create the locations. Click on the Add Location button to create one. A quick setup panel will appear alongside the location, where the name of the location and its relationship to the defined product can be set. Call this first location Farm, then set it as a production location for wheat. It will have no relationship to bread. We will now create a new location and call it Depot. It will act as a warehouse for wheat and a consumption point for bread. Add another location called Factory, and have it act as a consumption point for wheat and a production point for bread. Finally, we can right-click on any location, in this case the farm, and select Duplicate Location to create a location with the same settings. This location will be called Other Farm. With all of our locations established, the next step in the process is to link the locations together for each product in your supply chain. Pressing the Product Movement button, you can choose a product and start to click on the location as though the product is flowing through the supply chain. Note the location icons are changed to indicate the location type for the selected product. A green triangle represents production, red for consumption, and a blue rectangle for a warehouse. Only valid locations highlighted will be clickable in this process. To start, we will click on the farm. And as you can see, then we have an option of a direct connection to the factory or depot. In this network, we will click on the depot and have the product flow through it to the factory. Now that we have clicked on the consumption location for the product wheat, the beginning of a new flow path will need to be created. In our case, we will click on the farm and connect it to the depot. To complete this process, we will click on the product selector to select bread, and then link the factory to the depot. Note that the location in the gray circles are locations that are not associated with bread and cannot be clicked. Our locations and products have now been defined and relationships established. We are now ready to overlay the fleets onto our network. Firstly, we need to create our fleets. A fleet is a collection of haulage assets that travel across the network between the same locations and have the same travel time settings. Our first fleet will be a collection of trucks that will transfer products from the farm to the depot. It will have 2 large trucks and 2 small trucks. To help us distinguish between them during simulation, we will give them different colored icons. Our second fleet will be 2 trains that cycle back and forth between the factory and the depot. With our fleet established, it is now time to specify where the fleets can travel across the network and what products they can carry. To do this, click on the Fleet Paths button, and we can see that there is one connection between each of the farms and the depot, wheat, and 2 paths between the factory and the depot. The 2 lines are indicated that both wheat and bread move between these locations. Selecting the truck fleet from the list, we will allocate the trucks to the connection between the 2 farms. Note that the path color changes from a yellow, potential path, to a green, established allocated path. A green path represents a link between locations, over which the selected fleet can travel. When creating your own networks, you may see a gray link. This indicates that the fleet cannot be allocated to a path as there is no connection between this path and another established path on the network. Another connection needs to be made between the established connection and the invalid gray path before this connection becomes a selectable. Selecting our train fleet, we will allocate it to the connection between the factory and the depot, ensuring that the train can carry both products and connect these locations. If only one product is selected, then only one link will be colored green. To improve the visualization of the network, we can add a background imaging by selecting the Load Map button. This will convert the selected image file to a file server similar to those in the Google or Apple Maps, allowing you to zoom in and out of our network. Finally, it is important to check that your network is valid. Clicking the Network Check button will validate the network's structural components. By the way of example, if we remove the fleet associated to bread between the factory and the depot and then click Network Check, we will see a critical error has been found, indicating that the network has no fleet associated with the product movement between the factory and depot. This and any other errors considered critical will need to be addressed prior to running the simulation. The basic network properties of our supply chain have now been established, and we are now ready to set up the location's individual properties, such as unloading or loading bays, consumption and production rates, and operating hours by clicking on the individual locations. Click on the links between the locations to set the travel details. For further information on these settings, please consult the help file or watch more tutorial videos on our YouTube channel. Thanks for watching this video tutorial for Supply Chain Sim.